Welcome to the Hopcast. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, and I'm on board Milwaukee's streetcar, the Hop. It's all about connections, it's all about community, and it's all about moving Milwaukee forward. All right, it's a beautiful day in Milwaukee, sun shining, and just a wonderful sunny environment here in beautiful downtown Milwaukee. Today I'm on the Hop with Matt Rinka, an architect, truly a visionary in Milwaukee and one of the partners at Rinka Incorporated. We're going to talk about innovation, community, creativity, building purpose into neighborhoods. Matt's going to be great to talk about all those things and a whole lot more. I'm really excited that you took time out of your day to be here, Matt. So welcome aboard and thanks for being here for this episode of the Hopcast.
Thanks so much for having me, Jeff.
All right. I like to break these interviews into a couple segments, and
Sure.
we just call this one like the onboarding. You know,
Okay.
We're on the Milwaukee streetcar, and I'd love to know. Just tell us the Matt Rinka story in 3 to 4 minutes. Who are you? What you're all about, and what are you doing?
Well, the Matt Rinka story, it really starts in Seoul, South Korea. That's where I was born, and I was adopted at the age of 5.
Okay.
By 2 school teachers in Wisconsin. And I grew up in Oconomowoc, which
Okay.
is just west of Milwaukee.
Right.
And did my undergrad at UWM School of Architecture, did my master's degree at the University of Washington, and worked for some great companies earlier on. And in 2006, I decided to, hang my own shingle, as they say. So,
nice.
And honestly, for the last almost 16 years, it's been a pretty amazing ride. It's one of the reasons why I started the company was because I love Milwaukee. I've been traveled so many places throughout my lifetime, and having been, lived or born in a different country. You begin to realize how great your hometown is, and I truly see Milwaukee as not just a great place now, but a place that I have such high hopes for in the future, and the direction that we're going. And being an architect, I could see that I could make a huge impact on what the built environment could do for the community, do for the businesses and the people that are part of this city.
Yeah. Where did the passion around architecture and design come from? Something in your childhood, or was it just, did you always know that art growing up?
Yeah, earlier on, my parents, who were, I would say, very smart, and sort of worldly people, we grew up in a solar home. One of the first solar homes in Wisconsin. Okay. Designed by local architect, and it was amazing. This 3,000 square foot house, tri-level, it was kind of this built into the hillside, was heated by one little fireplace and a greenhouse, and just living in that environment and seeing how architecture was not just it was a beautiful house. Not only was it something that was enjoyable to live in, but it also had a great impact on the environment. And everyone that came over was sort of awed by how unusual the house was. Yeah. And so that always, from a young age, that sort of piqued my interest in how the built environment could impact people's lives. And honestly, traveling to many different countries with my parent, and then on my own as I became an adult, that only obviously added to my desire and passion for architecture, especially.
Nice.
But to be honest, I see architecture and urban planning and landscape design, that's all really one thing. And I think if you look at our work, that's maybe what's unique about how we approach our projects.
Yeah. It's always fascinating to think that projects have to be anchored in something, and they come from someone's mind, like yourself and your partners, and
Sure.
they have to be built and created, and they have to be a part of what the community is all about. I guess when you think about kind of the typical Milwaukee architecture, Cream City brick comes to mind, and other type of design facades. But how do you define yourself? Old school, new school. How do you kind of manage in the new world of architecture?
I think architecture to me is about a constant disruption. It's constantly disrupting the norm, and hopefully for the better most of the time. And unfortunately, a lot of the time it isn't.
Yeah.
I think as an architect that really loves this community, our hope is that anything that we do is a positive impact and will only help make people's lives better.
Yeah.
I think from that perspective, it sort of forces us, the team that I have, which are, I will say, hands down the most talented team that I know of in our profession, because of that sort of passion for the community and passion for problem solving for our clients. I think that sort of forces us to not think like architects. Typically, we're not. I would say we're not just form givers. We're not sculptors. We're innovators, problem solvers. Our work goes beyond just the physical form. We want to create experiences for people. We want an experience or a destination to draw on what people really want out of their community, and I think that's our true job. And I would say maybe the old way of thinking as architects was that sort of fountainhead kind of thought where I'm going to create this thing that
sketch
people
on a pad.
it's a soul sort of endeavor, and people are just going to have to live with my design. I think our approach is very different from that. It's very much, what kind of experiences would I, my family, my friends, my acquaintances, my colleagues, the businesses, customers, the community want out of this that will make this the best project for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's a very different approach than I think what may have been, I would say, the norm before we started.
Yeah. So let's talk about that design approach a little bit in terms of the projects that you've been a part of in Milwaukee. Kind of move into moving Milwaukee forward segment. I was on the Wisconsin Center District Board for years, and I remember one of the consultants saying specifically with the Fiserv project, with the new Bucks Arena, and what is now the Deer District, they wanted to create a center of gravity.
Yes.
What's your approach, kind of the phase to go into something that was clearly just rubble and a blank slate, but you're building an arena for now a championship NBA team. How do you tackle a project like that, knowing that it's so much it could be,
Sure.
but you want it to be everything, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, the arena. While we weren't involved in the design of the arena, we designed all the public space.
Okay.
In front of the arena, as well as what they call the Deer District.
Right. Okay.
And I think the arena is a very internalized, internally focused structure, and it performs its duties very well.
Yeah.
I think beyond the arena, right? The Bucks are Wisconsin's team. The Deer District represents the community space for everybody, and for us, it truly was saying to ourselves, how do we meld, urban design, landscape design, interior, exterior design to create an experience that's truly different from any other experience you could have anywhere else, to create something that is truly a destination, but really above all is a place where people can come gather and be proud of their city, their team, their businesses that are around there. And I think it was an extremely fun project for us because we were allowed to sort of take all of that into consideration. So the little extra properties that the Bucks owned all the way to 3rd Street, we said that's some of the most interesting space. And if we can give people sort of an unfolding experience where it's not just the big plaza and a rooftop space, but if it was a extremely amazing plaza space that flowed into these smaller spaces and interior, maybe people could hardly tell if they were inside a building or outside of a building, or on a rooftop, to make it feel like you had an outdoor stadium. It was a really amazing sort of collaborative effort amongst the internal team at Rinka, as well as our consultants, and certainly with the Bucks and the Bucks ownership, as well as the city. It was and to see it in action these last few years has been really rewarding for everybody.
Sure. Did you take any certain elements from other communities and plop it into that? That's not the right word, but obviously you studied different areas and like what would work and what didn't work. Like, is there anything that really stands out that you're really proud about now, or things that you want to do there?
You know, honestly, we looked at lots of other what they called live blocks,
right?
And you know, you can actually learn a lot from what other people didn't do right. And I think sort of saying, okay, that's their live block. How do we create a deer district that's truly Milwaukee? It was more of, to be perfect, it was more of a internal community understanding and understanding what's going to draw people here, what's going to make this truly unique experience for everyone. And in general, I think the stuff that we have there, the design, the way everything flows is very different from what you'll see in other places. And what's really great is I think other communities are looking at the Deer District as
the lefty driver come through here. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. As true.
Thank you.
Other communities are looking at the Deer District as sort of the prime example of what other districts like this in the country should be. So it's fun, especially I think there was a quote by the NBA commissioner. Basically said this is a model for the rest of the country. So that was really great.
That's great. Yeah. Well, speaking of models for the rest of the country, another signature project on Milwaukee's lakefront that the Hop will have an extension to. The L line going down to the lakefront is the Couture project.
Yep.
Talk about that. What can we expect with that building? Obviously, we'll show the renderings on this so people have an idea of kind of how it will change the face of Milwaukee's lakefront. But it's big and bold and will be shiny, bright, and new. But what can we expect to see at the Couture?
I think the Couture is a very different kind of building than Milwaukee's ever seen, and that was intentional. And I think when you have a marquee site and marquee location that has not only a job to do but a place on the skyline. Our job was to not only make it iconic visually, but to also make sure that this building, not just function, but was a fun way to make all of those functional needs happen. And so, I would say the look of the building. Actually, one of the greatest compliments that we can hear about buildings like that are, oh, that doesn't look like it belongs in Milwaukee. And I've heard that a lot. And my answer always to that is, yeah, that's great. This is a building about the future. This is about the future of the city. This is about how we're changing our attitude towards everything. Hopefully, equality, segregation. Our natural resources, such as the lakefront, and hopefully this building will speak to how this is about connectivity of the community and getting people to enjoy not just the lakefront, but all the amenities on the lakefront, the art museum, Veterans Memorial, Summerfest, Discovery World, and so the idea behind the building was to create not just a hub, but a hub that catered to all of the ways that we move, right? The Hop, the bus transit the rapid transit BRT, system that's coming, as well as automobile and pedestrian and bikes. So it's not a two-dimensional building, it's really a three-dimensional space at the base of the building that draws people in, allows people to access the lakefront, allows people to get onto the hop, get onto, get out of their cars and experience all the amenities that downtown has to offer. So it was, it's a building that, from a transportation sort of multimodal transportation / destination standpoint, it's really sort of meshing everything together in a way that, really maybe you'll see in other cities in Europe where you might have a train station next to that's part of a high-rise complex. This is doing it in a Milwaukee kind of way, and certainly to make sure that it's a contributing building, from all of those sort of live, work, play aspects. So you get the live, you get the work, as well as they'll have restaurants and retail and all those things that will help enliven the lakefront even more.
I mean, it really will be a gateway and a hub in so many ways.
Yes.
I mean, you said, a hub for people and transportation. Like, how important is it to have that public transit connection there, just to kind of provide the antenna out into the community?
I think it's what's really going to make the building alive, right? Is the transportation components on all of them, from the streetcar all the way to the pedestrian, and I think the mass transit component is extremely important because it's the lifeblood for most people in the city, and hopefully, as people understand that this is a very convenient and also a very sustainable way to travel and get around. It's also the movement of commerce. So allowing people to get down to the lakefront, and I see the lakefront as our most valuable asset as a community. For people to get down to the lakefront, get out of their cars, experience the lakefront itself, but also go to restaurants, go to a symphony, or go to when the streetcar goes up to up MLK, to be able to go to a Bucks game, to go shopping in all the different neighborhoods. I think it's an essential element to not just the movement of commerce, but the success of the city and its businesses.
Right.